I guess at a macro level, you might get larger viewership and you might be targeting different people, but it might impact the performance of a post that like you really want to do well. So like I'm a believer in the quality, over quantity approach. Again, I know nothing. I said that earlier in this podcast. Like I'm just learning. So I would love to test the other way. To be honest, in TikTok, we post more frequently than we do on Instagram and Facebook and so on. So like I said, there's really no one size fits all approach, but I do think that you have to be purposeful. Whether you're posting 3 videos a day or 1, I think you're doing yourself a disservice to post 3 not great videos in comparison like 2 well thought ones.
With intention. Welcome to Staying Hungry. Happy and healthy New Year to everyone. Today's guest joins us opening up season 2. And Luke from Guac Shop, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in. And want to make mention. Thanks for bringing some lunch to some of the staff here in the building at Viola Media. But Luke, yourself, your brother Matt, I think fair to say, friends of ours. Through the business, direct clients to us. Guac Shop started in 2018. Okay, in Garden City. Gotcha. And today, is there 8 locations?
Yeah, 8 locations, 7 throughout Long Island, and our first one in Florida.
Gotcha.
So.
And Matt runs he's in Florida.
Yep.
You're running up here.
Yep.
Obviously you and Matt, I'm sure, in communication constantly.
All day, every day.
Talk a little bit about hospitality in general, how you guys got into the business, the desire, and let's just go from there.
Yeah, of course. Well, we actually have a really awesome story at Guac Shop. So obviously it all begins with my brother. Without him and his partners, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I want to start off saying thank you. Of course, I owe a lot of people thank you. I've been really blessed to get a real crash course on the business from every different aspect, back end, like accounting work to front of the house operations. So my brother in high school, with his 2 best friends and their father, they created something called the Candy Club. Essentially what it was is there was like a written pack where they would contribute a small amount, in the beginning, each and every week into like a shared savings account that they then used to parlay, which birthed Park Place. That was their first full service restaurant. I believe it opened in like 2011 or 2012 in Flow Park. That's where like our journey as, a partnership and myself and my brother, and his, beginnings in the hospitality industry began. It was my first job. I remember it was literally a cold winter day like today on a Sunday afternoon. I'm playing NHL with my brother, and my older brother Matt walks in and hands me a collared shirt and a pair of dress pants, and he's like, "You're coming to work with me today." And I was like 13 years old.
Wow.
Probably shouldn't be saying that on camera, but that's all right. Family business.
Not the first time we've heard that.
We'll make sure the labor department doesn't.
Yeah. So I started off as a busboy. Park Place was a modern American, not quite, formal, but it was a place where you can come and spend $100 a head with your wife for date night, or was it also a great family spot where you can come after, a Little League game, eat some wings and watch some football or baseball. So my first initial, experience in the restaurant business was in full service. Fast forward to 2018, the idea for Guac Shop had been born. So my brother Matt and his partner Pat were kind of the main, I would say operators on the day-to-day at Park Place. But the business still growing and developing, didn't have the opportunity to be able to afford 2 managing partners at the time. So my brother kind of took his, took some of his expertise into corporate real estate, which is kind of where he was kind of really getting a great understanding and what has founded, a huge part of our expansion strategy today, and, leases and corporate leases, et cetera. And obviously every day, him and his colleagues would go to the famous restaurant called Chipotle. And his concept and his, idea and thought process was like, well, we have Park Place going, it's successful. It has a great emphasis on 2 things, and we'll talk about it a lot, but product quality and customer service. Really 3 actually, 2 in the neighborhood, like community feel. And he was like, I think that we could apply everything that we've learned at Park, everything that I've learned at, in corporate real estate, and birth what is now, known today as Guac Shop. So that's kind of really where it started. In 2018, if I'm being completely honest, the restaurant business was something that, I did to help out my family, support my family, to be able to, have some extra money for myself, go out on the weekends and, get new sports equipment, et cetera. But it was never something that I viewed as my immediate, I want to be in the hospitality industry. Yeah. I fortunate enough to have graduated from Chaminade. I got introduced to like this Bloomberg class where I learned a lot about trading, and immediately I was like, I want to go to work on Wall Street and I want to work in finance. So that's what I went. I wound up going into college at Adelphi. All throughout Adelphi, I was working pretty much every single day at Guac Shop, Garden City. COVID unfortunately happened, which basically turned my whole education digital. Again, still really focused on going to work on Wall Street, networking as much as I possibly can with all of our great customers in Garden City.
Did you have any internships in the finance space at all?
I did not actually complete anybody. I had like multiple lined up kind of through some of our customers.
Right.
And fortunately for us, the reason why a lot of that fell by the wayside, and everything happens for a reason, we firmly believe that, but COVID was a huge accelerator for our business. We were already positioned to like excel on third-party platforms and online delivery, etc. And kind of out of necessity, my role at Guac Shop like grew exponentially. And by the time that I had graduated, we had 3 locations operating and a 4th being built. So in my head, I was like, I would be pretty foolish if I didn't continue to pursue this opportunity with my family and in the hospitality industry. And fast forward to 2025, we've got 8 stores in multiple states. So I was really fortunate. A lot of investment banking, finance like areas like where I was positioned and ready to roll, and it kind of all fell by the wayside organically. Which looking back on it, I'm extremely thankful because we are where we are today. Obviously, not where we want to be, but we work 100% every day to get there. But I'm also really fortunate because my education at Adelphi, specifically like in accounting and finance, like it's helped me tremendously in hospitality.
On the back office side of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's, the passion for putting out a great product and getting excellent customer service and networking with your team is all there. And I think it's pretty much unanimously there for anybody in the hospitality industry. But I think one of the areas where a lot of restaurant owners do struggle is kind of that back office type, because, I say it all the time, like as a restaurant owner, you wear so many different hats. One day you're specializing in marketing. How do I grow the business? One day you're trying to work on your P&L and your bottom line and getting tax advice, etc. So to be able to have like a well-rounded understanding of the business, for me, I'm forever grateful to everybody that's been able to help me along the way, obviously, especially my brother. And it's been a really crazy, wild ride so far.
Almost eight years.
Yeah.
Why do you say that not there yet? What does that mean? Does that mean because there's more locations in the mix,
Yeah.
or something within the stores?
Absolutely. I mean,
both?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a combination of both. There are certainly some markets, throughout Long Island, Florida, as well as, throughout the East Coast that we would love to tap into. Some immediate spots that we have some workings on, which I can't share yet, unfortunately. I would love to. But with that regard, as far as expansion, absolutely. But I think I could speak on behalf of myself and my brother when we say, like, we view our success as entrepreneurs, obviously at the end of the day, P&L is the most important, right? It's what's able to put food on the table for everybody, including ownership. But our ultimate level of success is to watch our staff grow and excel through the ranks, and have people that have quite literally come in, worked at Guac Shop in Garden City 8 years ago, never held a knife before, to now being salaried employees that are responsible for the operations of 3 stores. Like I could go on and on, about the amazing staff that we've been able to build and the culture that we've built to help drive that growth within them. And that is ultimately, our immediate gauge of what success is to us. We currently have staff members that have been able to achieve that. There are some that we feel are absolutely 100% deserving of it and ready for it. It's just a matter of we have to continue to keep our foot on the gas to be able to provide that opportunity for them, So I would say that's honestly the biggest thing, is really the development of our staff. Like, just to, like, shout out, like our guy Sam has literally started off by working in a supermarket across the street from Guac Shop. My brother recruited him. And 8 years later, he's calling me, like talking to me about ideas like how I could shave some points off of our fixed expenses. He's like, I was looking at our gas bill, like I think if I do this X, Y, and Z, I could save some money. And I'm like, it's just so amazing to see that, and it's by far the most fulfilling part of my job, I would say.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty gratifying.
Yeah.
That a stranger to the business is now coming through the ranks, and you feel you could grow around him.
100%.
Wow. Gotcha.
You spoke about, being in the space, right? Like you brought up Chipotle, there's so much in your space right now. And you mentioned a few things, culture, food quality. I guess talk to us a little bit about the food and the ingredients of what you feel separates Guac Shop from the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say specifically with food and ingredients, I mean, we have an incredible relationship with some of the, biggest, purveyors and food broadliners, throughout the country. Obviously as our volume has grown, that's enabled us to open the door to further conversations. So, I mean, that's one of the biggest portions of like my day-to-day responsibilities is procurement. And a lot of people look at procurement, as just like kind of a dollar amount, like, hey, I need a better price on Roma tomatoes, but it's also quality control and sourcing the best ingredients that we can. We've also worked with a lot of, local produce guys, et cetera, that have been, phenomenal for us. I think the biggest thing for us at Guac Shop is, I think the consumer, especially in today's market, is very value driven. But I think to a lot of restaurants owners and like their mind, when they consider the idea of value, I think they strictly look at price point. Whereas like I like to look at value as almost like an equation. There's so many different levers that you could pull to achieve great value. And one of that is, it's a combination of like price point, service, product quality, portion size, so to be able to have like a great team and a great fundamental approach to ensuring that product quality and portion size are almost on autopilot is really important. One of the ways that we're able to do that is obviously starts at the beginning, like kind of in our recipe books and kind of, our expectations and standard for quality. I think our biggest thing is we let the product speak for itself. If I were to show you guys, our recipe books for some of our highest volume items, you'd be like, that's all you do. And it's for us, it's a combination of preparing it fresh every single day. And again, ensuring that through our relationships, we're sourcing, the best quality tomatoes, Haas, number 2 avocados, strictly, great proteins. Like we recently just upgraded our steak and added a grass fed, ground beef option as well. So, our commitment to that has to remain, steadfast. So I think what happens is in a large enterprise, like Chipotle, obviously they're extremely successful and there's so much that I've learned from them. So as much as I might joke around on camera, I really do, believe that at their core, they are an excellent company and they have solved something for the American consumer is that, a healthy, quick and, relatively affordable meal option. And I think, that playbook has been, well written and written over many times. And again, our way on it is just, we look at it as like, it needs to be a perfect balance of what we like to call value today. And product is hugely important in that.
How have you seen since 2018 in regards to just the consumer's knowledge of food quality?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to even think about it. Like how,
like grass-fed was like a term that like no one even said 8 years ago.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think that is, I think it's both an advantage to people in hospitality, like ownership level, and also a disadvantage to those who might find themselves like a little bit stagnant. I think 100% the consumer has way more access to way more information than they ever have before. And I think it's almost at a point where I think consumers there's obviously a lot of consumers who are at the end of the day price sensitive. But I also think there's a lot of consumers out there that are willing to pay more, if the quality is there, if the story behind your product is illustrated well. And at the end of the day, it's consistent, so I think that's a huge obstacle. I think this industry is evolving way faster than it ever has, especially now with technology. And I think that, the industry is naturally kind of paving the way for those, operators and ownerships and groups who at the end of the day accept that and are willing to move with the industry, Yeah.
That's an interesting point. And I know over the last few episodes in particular, some of the guests were saying that like they felt the same, that if you offer or perceived value is what a consumer is happy with, then they're not really looking at the price. And it sounds like Guac sits right at that crossroad.
Yeah. We definitely do our best. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is that we we're obviously very aggressive in a lot of our promotional offers. We have an excellent loyalty program. You know, myself and my brother are doing the best that we can to make sure that we're in front of the camera and driving this message home. But like we have like an interesting dynamic, right? Because we want to maintain our position as an elevated brand. You know, one of the things that my brother used to say all the time when we were just in Garden City is like, you know, there's Burger King and then there's Shake Shack. You know, there's Chipotle and then there's Guac Shop, right? So like we want to maintain our elevated standard. Obviously, an elevated product, elevated customer service, locations, obviously, with, you know, price per square foot, obviously, in a place like Garden City versus another neighborhood in Long Island might have a huge discrepancy, right? So there's a price tag that's associated with being an elevated brand. I think we do our best in obviously minimizing that at the front level. But also like one of the things that people ask me is like, well, how are you so aggressive with some of your promotions and your rewards, et cetera, but at the same time, you know, continue to convey the message that you are an elevated brand? And I think the answer is a lot simpler than what a lot of people think. And in my regard, my response to that typically is like, well, you know, at the end of the day, you're putting product to somebody and somebody's, you know, taking time out of their day and spending their money in your establishment to purchase your product, right? Your product has to be able to stand up to the elevated, you know, position that you'd like to be in. Just because I'm selling a meal deal at $9.99 with a drink does not mean that I'm not using, you know, a cut of the ribeye steak, or, you know, I'm not doing my best to source the best Roma tomatoes that you'll find in your Pico de Gallo. I think at scale, I think our product is what really is the main catalyst in continuing to establish ourselves as an elevated brand. You know, obviously the communication behind it and the messaging behind it is very important, and it's something that, you know, we're putting a big focus on, you know, throughout 2026. But at the end of the day, it's product, man. You have to have a great product and you have to be confident in it.
Yeah, because questions I'm sure will come up like portion size, right? I think it was something maybe related to Chipotle where they're like, oh, the burritos that you get when you go to the place versus when you order from like Grubhub, they're like two different sizes.
Yeah.
Right. And is that done by design? Is it just done by coincidence? So I think it's important, like you said, you know, making sure that you maintain that messaging.
Yeah.
You know, so someone might be like, oh, 99, I'm sure it's like half the portion size.
Yeah.
Than if I went at, you know, for a non.
Yeah.
Special.
It's the same exact portion.
Exactly. It's the same portion.
And I'm saying that because our office is in Massapequa, and I think of just a few times in the past few weeks, we came by and got lunch, and I'm like, all looks the same to me.
Yeah, you know? And, but you did mention, you were like, yo, this was a really good deal, right?
Yeah,
like
what is it? Talk about it. Every day, 12 to 5, all locations?
Yeah, so it's every day till 5 p.m. at all of our stores. We called it the Guac Shop $9.99 meal deal. And essentially you could build your own bowl or burrito. Exactly the same portion size you would normally get. The only thing is that we limited the protein slightly just to protect margin on some, for example, shrimp and the beef market are super, super high right now. Of course, yeah. So we're doing our best to protect there. You can add it for a small upcharge, but build your own bowl or burrito with, you know, a wide variety of proteins that we offer and a drink for $9.99 till 5 p.m. So one of the industries, and I would love to touch on your point too with like the Grubhub versus ordering internally comparison. But one of the people in the industry, believe it or not, that we've been looking at and studying lately is Chili's. And I'm sure a lot of people watching this are going to laugh and they're going to say, why the heck are you looking at Chili's? It's, you know, frozen this or whatever. But
they're also like $500 million.
Yeah, well, exactly. And one night, you know, I'm coming home. I have this weird thing where I can't turn my brain off. And my girlfriend yells at me all the time, like, dude, it's 12 o'clock at night. I don't want to hear about work anymore. But I'm scrolling on YouTube one night and I saw a Wall Street Journal episode where they interviewed the current CEO of Chili's, and I'm blanking on his name. But long story short, I really took a liking to like his practical approach to hospitality. He told a story of how basically himself and then all the Chili's execs were in a boardroom. Obviously, the cheeseburger there is a huge mover. They sell tons of it, right? The culinary team came in, everybody got 2 burgers. The culinary team said, take a bite out of both. Let us know what you think is different. They went completely around the room. You know, the CFO is like, oh, the bun's different. The CEO is like, the beef is different, et cetera, et cetera. It turns out that the only difference that was in the 2 burgers that they gave them were the pickles. One was, I think, pre-sliced, and one was like the more traditional, like in the large gallon containers. He's like, if we switch to this cut of pickle, we'll save $500,000 over the course of the year across all of our restaurants. And the guy was like, done. And the culinary team was like, but wait, you know, this, that, and the third. He's like, nope. He's like, It tastes exactly the same. Nobody knew it was the pickle in here, and we're going to save $500,000. We're doing it. And I think I really appreciated that because, at least in my experience, obviously, you want to put forth the best product that you possibly can. And we're also naturally creatures of habit as far as the way that we operate. But I think sometimes restaurant owners get, like, I guess in a way used to doing what they're doing, and they're maybe not as willing to move with the market and the change of the hospitality industry. So we started to study Chili's kind of basically based on that interview. And then obviously I came to look at their stock performance, and they're crushing it. And if you look at year to date on, brands like Cava or Chipotle, and we all love their product, but they're just not performing at the same rate that a Chili is. So why is that? And I started to get down this deeper dive on, they've shrunk their menu size by approximately 25%. So they're more efficient in their product costs. Check. The CEO has built a brand new team of, frontline management that is actively present in all of their stores, and they've improved, the guest experience and the cosmetic branding and build outs of their store. Check. They have improved product quality on some of their big movers. Like one of their things was chicken. They sell a lot of chicken tenders. They improved the quality on that. Check. So they're covering all these boxes. Their marketing is excellent because they do a lot of user generated content where it's like organic. It feels real. It doesn't feel like it was staged in a studio, and where we are. And the other thing is that they with all of those changes in play, they introduced their value meal. I think it's $10.99. They offer a quarter pounder with cheese, which is purely intentional. A quarter pounder with cheese, fries, chips, salsa, and a drink for $10.99 all of their stores. And people are like, how the heck are they making money? And how's their stock performance doing so great? They're selling an item for $10.99. They can't be making margin on that. The answer is that they're probably not. But what a lot of people don't realize is like, nobody is going to, yes, there are some people that are going to go there and they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to get the $10.99. That's all I get. I'm not going to look at the other menu. But there's also a lot of practical people out there who's, let's say they're a parent and their children say, I want that burger from Chili's. They go there. The parent winds up getting their new margarita that they're doing. That's $12 or whatever it is. And next thing you know, their guest average is protected. Their top line revenue is growing. Transactions are growing. And you see the stock today. It's crushing.
But it's also frequency, right? Because
exactly.
Like you said, if you have a great cost for your lunch item, people are going to come back rather than once a week. You might get twice a week.
Exactly.
Right? So you're going to make up for that $20 per person over the course of that month is now doubled.
100%.
Right? So it's just playing the numbers at the end of the day.
100%. It's really a race to achieving like the lifetime value of a customer. So they obviously have a really great understanding at that. We find at Guac Shop, like it takes about 3 positive visits for us to have a lifetime customer. So at the end of the day, you want to try to get your product in front of these people, your guests, your potential, guests 3 times in a great fashion. And your likelihood of earning their support for essentially a lifetime is extremely high. And I think that was their approach to it. And they're crushing it.
Yeah, because the cost, it's like, it's any business, right? We talk about it. It's a lot easier for us to put money to keep a client than to go acquire a new one.
Of course.
Right. So it's the same thing.
Of course.
We know how it's 75 cents on the dollar to get a new client to walk through our doors at Premier, or what does it cost us to just maintain it? It's not 75 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly.
Luke, who, not in your cuisine, but who do you like out there who's doing things well? Like you based on what you just shared with us, besides Chili's and Chipotle, but who do you think does it well in other cuisines? Like you must scour the market just to check stuff out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot of people doing a great job right now. I think one of the guys that's on my feed constantly is the gentleman from Mike's Underground Pizza. I haven't had a chance to meet him yet or try his product.
He was
we'll go there together. He's a cool guy.
It looks awesome. I love what he's doing. Who else do I really like? Obviously, Anthony from Phil's Syosset is absolutely crushing it. Again, I haven't had a chance to try his product yet, but I love what he's doing. I like people. Well, see, the only reason why I've been able to achieve, any form of success in hospitality is because I've quickly realized, and I think me not necessarily pursuing a career in this originally, I think helped me. I quickly realized that I don't know. I say it all the time. I don't know anything. I'm the way that I like to approach this business is that, whoever can learn and adapt and understand and extrapolate the most amount of information possible will ultimately be the most successful. So I'm constantly looking at other operators. And I think, unfortunately, I think one of the only downfalls of social media is there's a lot of like, you might look at a guy's spot or listen to a guy's message and you might say like, well, what is he doing? He doesn't know what he's doing. His place isn't busy, whatever. But at the end of the day, I think there is some sort of respect and appreciation that me as a business owner, whether I agree with the messaging or not, I respect you for getting up and putting yourself out there and representing your business in the way that you see fit. And I think that there's an opportunity for all business owners, regardless of whether or not you're in hospitality, to learn from that. So I really like those guys. Those the first two. I know, our friends over at King Umberto's, like they crush it. We love their product. Johnny and Chiro, they're awesome. Louis over at Rob Key's, I love his place. Like there's so many great places on Long Island right now. And I think, unfortunately there are some places that might not be doing so well, but at the end of the day, it's more than just, it's the restaurant industry is no longer just like great product, great service. Like it's a double-edged sword. Right? There's so many different things that you have to look at,
It's the vibe. It's just like you said, the customer experience. It's everything. But
almost, next year, calendar year 8 for you guys. Real estate, finding you as far as new locations.
Certainly.
Matt certainly was cutting his teeth in that space and has an affinity to it. But essentially, landlords are now calling you guys, because they know the brand and obviously want a stable business in their space.
Yeah, of course. I think, over the last few years, our reputation as business owners, aside from the brand of Guac Shop, has certainly grown. One of the things that, the strategy that we like to approach to our back end is we work on 7 days. So by Wednesday, or for example, Wednesday of this week, depending on what day you're viewing this, the previous week was closed out already, all vendors paid, et cetera, unfortunately there are times obviously when a store's performance might not match, what you're paying for, et cetera. That's part of the process. It's one of the best things about this industry because it really puts your feet to the fire. But our rent is paid on time and in full at the end of every month. And I think one of the biggest things is like, you can't, live outside of your means, both in your individual life and in your business's life. Like, of course, I would love to take unbelievable space and let's say, the financial district in Manhattan and put a beautiful guac shop in there and, have the best staff and recruit people from all these different companies and pay them as much as they, ask me for. But, you have to be able to look introspectively and understand, okay, is that necessarily feasible for me right now? If so, is it in my business best interest to proceed with that? Or are there other opportunities that might present themselves that, might lead to maybe a little bit less risk in a move like that in the future. So, for us, I think as well, one of the biggest things that we look at is we like second gen restaurant space, at least at this current, position that we're in at Guac Shop, because it keeps the store opening, obviously initial costs way down. But we've done both. I mean, we've built out spaces from the ground up like Garden City. And we've also been fortunate enough to take some second gen spots that, just kind of really required some cosmetic attention.
Like Massapequa. Like
like Massapequa.
You turned that store around in weeks.
Yeah, super quick. It's funny because it actually wasn't even really the plan. The plan was that we were going to take over the spot pretty much as is. Myself and my guys were literally in there with like brushes and scrubs and power washers, etc., getting everything ready. Fortunately, we had a really great canvas when you look at it, and that it really didn't require much, with the exception of like just some elbow grease. So the plan was that we were going to do that, get the place up to our standards as far as like cleanliness, and obviously with our absolute necessary equipment items in there and in their layout. But we were going to open, serve customers digitally, and then plan for a more prolongated closing where we would do a little bit more of a more detailed renovation. But it wound up, fortunately, like the feedback from the Massapequa community was awesome. And just the timing of it was around the holidays, about a year ago, actually, basically today. And my brother came up, from Florida, and we were walking the space and kind of talking about it, talking to our staff, and we were like, you know what, like, screw it, like, we're gonna close this thing for a couple of days. We're gonna put our feet to the fire. We got a great relationship with Chris over at CL Visual for some graphic art, etc. And we were like, let's get this thing going. So I mean, my guys were in there, like our kitchen staff was in there with paintbrushes, like helping us out. Like that's just kind of the culture that we built. And Massapequa was kind of born from there. So pretty crazy.
So how did the Florida location come about?
Yeah.
And like talk to us a little bit about like some of the unforeseen.
Yeah, of course.
And did Matt move down there for the location, or Matt was moving there regardless?
So Matt was moving there regardless. A bunch of our family members have since relocated down there. I think for him, you know, it was just a genuine like quality of life play. I mean, who wouldn't want to be, it's 20 degrees right now where we are. It's probably 84 down there. So I get it. But, you know, throughout the moving process, etc., he found himself frequenting a place called Hummus Bay. It was a quick service Mediterranean concept. So similar to what we do at Guac Shop. Mediterranean was always something that we wanted to get into. We're fans of that space in general, the food, the culture, etc. We love it. And I also think it's a very versatile cuisine in that, like, as a consumer, it's something that you could eat pretty much every day in some variation. So it was a natural fit for us. It was second gen. It was in a beautiful shopping center off of a main highway down in Bradenton, Florida. And it kind of was just like a natural progression. You know, Matt, really networked himself incredibly well with the staff there, wound up getting in touch with ownership. We were able to cut a deal. At first, our intentions, what we did was to begin is we were like, all right, it was our first time ever buying a restaurant that was actively operating, which was interesting because we literally were at the closing table and then a couple hours later, the store was scheduled to open. So at first, my brother and I were kind of like, how do we want to play this? And I said, well, you know what? Like, it looks like the bones of the actual books, let's say, like their P&L are relatively strong. I mean, for us, they were, because again, we're used to closing on a spot and then you're on the clock.
And had you seen the space? Were you down in Florida?
Yeah.
Or just going off Matt's FaceTiming each other?
A little bit of both. I mean, I had the opportunity to go down and I was like, dude, it's a beautiful storefront. It's a double storefront. It's wide. It's bright. It's got beautiful natural light, 2 palm trees like right in front on either side of the sign. It was kind of like, we have to take this. So the bones were good. So we were like, why don't we give it a shot in operating? Quickly, we found that like it might not be in our best interest to do so. So we were like, all right, let's at least get Guac Shop in and ready and prepared to serve orders digitally. So Guac Shop was born in that location as a digital concept first, as we kind of put plans in place, obviously, for, cosmetic transition. And we'd never done business in Florida before. So networking ourselves with some of the broadliners, talking to neighbors, recruiting staff, speaking to the other restaurant owners in the area, kind of getting our lay of the land. So we wound up closing for a very short period of time, flipped the space to Guac Shop once we saw online performance was good and we kind of felt we were in a good spot. And then we flip-flopped it. We put Guac Shop was the main spot, and Hummus Bay was going to be like basically, in a way, a ghost kitchen, a digital ghost kitchen, which, our plans were, if performance were to maintain, we continue to open, which is still in the cards for us. But unfortunately, the feedback from the community and kind of just overall volume at that store, once we switched to Guac Shop, we saw a huge boost. So we said, you know what, like, let's put our focus and attention on that. Also, obviously, the real estate market in Florida is super hot right now. There's so many different second-gen spaces, et cetera. So we're like, let's get ourselves established down here and get the store prepared, because opportunities are going to present themselves naturally. And that's kind of where we are today. I mean, the store's gorgeous. I mean, selfishly, I think it's one of the best-looking ones, especially, like I'm telling you, when you walk into that store, there's 2 beautiful, huge palm trees, like perfectly on either side of the sign. So it's like, it's crazy. You feel like you look at that store and you're like, we're in Florida. You know what I mean?
That's been almost 2 years?
Yeah, almost 2 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
What has been like the biggest challenge from an operational standpoint of having 7 locations here, 1 there?
It's a great question. I mean, a lot of people would...
Matt has to drive, Luke has to drive a lot of miles.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, sure, the distance, fortunately, same time zone, et cetera. So at least between my brother and I, it's nothing really changed. You know what I mean? We're on the phone at the same times. We're kicking it at the same times. I think definitely pace of life down there was something that was quickly for you to be adjusted to. Like, everybody talks about it. Life in Florida is much slower than that of New York. And I think that is, at least in our experience, we found some truth to that. We had a little bit of, some obstacles that we had to carry as far as like we're used to, I mean, we're spoiled here, right? We have some of the best, food service purveyors and account representatives, et cetera. Like, we're so spoiled, and we're so thankful for that. Obviously, it took a lot of hard work to get there, but all of that has to get started from scratch down there. So building those relationships, kind of like, a New York salesman versus like a Floridian salesman, their whole vibe and energy and their pace of pursuing a potential client and vice versa is completely different. So getting a good lay of the land on that, I think, was time consuming. But I think ultimately it'll pay off in the long run, because I think it only takes a short period of time of doing business with us at Guac Shop to understand that like we are not
pay your bills on time.
Yeah, we pay our bills.
You become very popular.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not sitting on a yacht in Monaco, for the entire summer. Like, we're actively, working on the business. We are very much involved in it. And a lot of times, even when you call the store line, you're probably getting myself or my brother that's answering the phone. You know what I mean? So I think that reputation has continued, began to grow and is continuing to grow in Florida. And I think it'll make it easier. But I mean, certainly it was definitely different. It was definitely, okay, let's kind of like look at this from 10,000 feet and learn, because there's a lot to learn from it for sure.
How entrenched do you guys get with the communities, of all the locations? And I would imagine you have some ties to different organizations and giving back, and how meaningful is that to Guac Shop?
Oh, it's arguably the biggest. It's arguably the most fulfilling part of our business. A little bit of a background: my brother actually founded a fraternity at Adelphi called Phi Sigma Kappa, which I was in. My younger brother's in now currently. But obviously, a huge part of fraternity and sorority is philanthropy. So that's always been a huge fundamental part of our business. In particular, we work very closely with the schools. Massapequa High School has been fantastic with us. Colmac, Levittown, Wantagh, obviously Garden City. I mean, I can go on and on. That's like our main bread and butter, is fundraising for the schools, because we're firm believers that you get what you put in, and it's an investment. We look at it as an investment to better not just only our business, but to better the community. And we operate the business, like from a modern perspective. Like, we want the community to win. Everybody's got to win. You know what I mean? I like, in your shopping center, you might be the busiest spot, but like, you want your neighbors to be busy too. Like, it just helps. The shopping center starts looking cleaner. Customers are happier. People are bouncing around from spot to spot. Like, you can collaborate more on different marketing initiatives. So like, our approach to achieve that is through fundraising. We collaborate with all of our neighbors as much as possible in these efforts. I mean, we do a ton in healthcare and first responders, et cetera, too. I mean, they were amazing for us during COVID and obviously beyond, before and after that. So that's our grassroots. Our fundraising coordinator, Ellie, is constantly fielding some inbound fundraising inquiries, as well as like actively searching for it. Again, school sports teams, school clubs, activities, fun, healthcare and first responders, probably our biggest, array of fundraising, partner, I would say.
How is your catering business kind of transitioned since COVID? Is it more popular?
Yeah, our catering, the portion of our catering business is it's actually my favorite part of like the business itself. It's grown tremendously. I think one of the advantages that we have is that our package is all inclusive, and that if you're purchasing a catering from Guac Shop, it doesn't really require much thinking, which I think might be a slight disadvantage for those who kind of sell more of like an a la carte package. We work very closely with pharmaceutical reps, obviously, because they send a lot of catered lunches and dinners, to their potential medical clients, etc. I mean, it's grown substantially. We're flexible on price point with it. In COVID, we were offering individualized meals, not the large format like build your own model. We have a great relationship with the team over at Easy Cater, and we obviously do our best to convey the message and the advantages of our catering and our own internal marketing. And it's one of the fastest growing portions of our business, and it's my favorite. Also, from a business owner, it's awesome, because if the average catering order, this is not our average order, not our average order value for catering, but let's say even it's $100, if I invest $10 into procuring a catering customer, there's a $90 spread there. Whereas like, if I have to make a $10 investment in, let's say, a traditional customer, they might spend $17 and now the margin's less. So there's more margin for you to work with on catering, which is nice. I mean, it's sweet when you land a client, you build a relationship with, let's say, a pharmaceutical rep, and he hits you up and he sends you a text message. I need these 5 lunches for the week, and you plug it in your invoice calculator, and it's like $4,000 in revenue. You're like, that's awesome, and it's an immediate boost to the store. And I also think it's probably the most effective form of marketing, because the reality is like, let's say, for example, pharmaceutical rep hits us up, or school even. Let's use Massapequa High School, for example, because it's one of our newest stores, right? Massapequa High School hits us up, the football team, they say, hey, we need to cater lunch for about 60 of those kids. The reality is like 55 of them maybe have never had Guac Shop before, and then their parents and the coaches, etc. Like, it's the best form of marketing. You want to make sure that order goes out correct. You want to prepare everything, to order for something like that. And I actually do my best, as well as my brother, to actively be the one that's delivering. I mean, the amount of miles on my truck we were talking about before, Dodge hates me, but that's part of the reason, because I'm driving caterings around in the mornings like an animal.
How,
like a madman.
What's the furthest reach with catering per se?
Our stores we have like a 22-mile radius, give or take a little bit more each store. So obviously we have a location with Colmag. We can get pretty far deep into Suffolk County. Yeah. And then our New Hyde Park location it's really
Queens
a Queens
border?
address. Yeah. So we do it a ton in Queens, and actually even like into Manhattan. So yeah.
I guess if it makes sense, you'll make it make sense for you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of like, do you find like families order
Yes.
catered stuff from you, just like to be able to have,
of course,
with sports, like we were talking earlier, with when you have kids that are in sports all night and getting a good quality meal. I've seen like a lot of our clients are saying the uptick in just families going, hey, we're going to order 100% from Guac Shop Monday. And now we have like literally meals for the next 3-4 nights.
100%. Yeah, we definitely recognize that. So my brother, by the way, is like one of the way that he is able to like interpret information, and like produce such a wide array of ideas is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. Like, he is so good at that. And one of his things is like, all right, catering is growing. Obviously it's large format, 10, 20, 30, 40 people. But how do we get something for like, exactly like you said, I'm a mom of 4, I got X, Y, and Z, football practice here, soccer practice here, club here, band here. Like, I just need dinner for the kids, like, and for myself, and I don't want to order fast food anymore. So my brother was like, let's create a family style portion of our menu. So we created family style tacos, which is essentially our catering package, just a little condensed, and provides for a little bit more customization on the customer end.
And you can get it on the fly.
And you can get it on the fly.
It's not like you have to order 2 days in advance.
Get it on the fly. Pick up, delivery, same day, whatever it is. It's been a huge item for us. On Saturdays, we actually feature it for only $40. So like, our call to market with that is like, you could feed your family of 4 for $10 a person. And it's been super successful for us, fortunately. So.
And Luke, anyone that has dietary restrictions, you guys check those boxes as far as allergies or gluten or what else am I missing, Crystal?
Dairy.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely do.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Our staff, it was one of the like, it's one of the foundational pieces to training at Guac Shop. So one of the first things that we do, obviously, we introduce our staff to the spot, go over the menu, and then it's boom, immediately allergies. So what's some of the advantages that we have is that we're actually like very allergy friendly, gluten free. I mean, pretty much our entire menu is gluten free with the exception of our soft tacos, burrito tortillas, and quesadillas. But we do our best to eliminate any cross contamination in our fryer. So the only thing that goes in our fryer is white corn for chips and crispy tacos. So our gluten free guests can have that. Our rices, our beans, our proteins, our sauces, everything is gluten free. So we're good on that. Peanut, tree nut. The only thing that we really have to worry about is our mango salsa. Mangoes are actually related to pistachios. I didn't know this until, obviously when we opened the restaurant. So really, that's the only thing that we have to worry about there. And then dairy, again, dairy is really one of those things, like, you have to be great at preventing cross contamination. But I mean, for us, with the exception of our queso, shredded cheese, and our cilantro aioli, sour cream, those are the only things that have dairy in it. So we're really flexible in that. And that also is one of the biggest catalysts to our catering success, is because if you're vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, etc., there's something there for you in the base package as is. And that's hugely important for us to communicate that, to our guests. So
social media, we see you doing a whole lot more.
Appreciate it, yeah.
And, talk about that. I mean, in 2018, I would imagine maybe there was no social media. Not that we didn't have social media, but not doing the type of videos you're doing today?
Yeah, it's social media for us has been one of those things where it's like we've gone so many different directions with it. We've learned a tremendous amount. It's so I can actually speak on when you don't even have an effective social media, like in full transparency, like I mentioned, this business is ever evolving, right? I found myself getting a little bit too tunnel visioned, and maybe like necessarily like the P&L and just immediate operations and like at the store level. But I found that like, there's a bigger conversation to be had about the brand and its optics from outside of the store, and kind of like what are some of the other ways that you are reaching new customers organically. At first, like everybody else content was really product driven. Like, it's just like, this is, how I'm going to make my guac. This is a sick bowl. This is the craziest cheese pull in a case that you've ever seen. Obviously there's value to that, and there's still value to that. But I think social media now is kind of, as I was speaking on, is more so like people want to get an understanding of not only the vibe and feel of your place or your industry, but the foundational components of the brand itself. Like Guac Shop, like what is that? Like, yeah, you could deduce pretty quickly from our Instagram that's a build your own fast casual Mexican. But it's like, how is Guac Shop created? Like, people want to hear Matt speak about that. People might, the younger generation want to see a funny video with myself and one of my guys, like, pretending to argue in Spanish or something like that. Like, you want shareable organic content, because I think, obviously with all of the rising costs that have happened in this industry, like marketing, paid media has become very, very expensive. And I think, and truthfully, I think it's justified, because it is a very important part of your business. And I think that, sector, I think, is on fire right now. But there's also a way to kind of get I'm not saying the same by any means, but similar results or a different type of result from the organic side of it. So your consistency and the message that you're looking to purvey on that side of it is so important. To be honest, full transparency, like we recently started our TikTok page. I recently started to really put myself in front of the camera. Again, that's one of those things where like I would much rather my guys be on a camera, and I found myself being the camera person that was put on the camera, like because of my beginnings in the restaurant business. Like I was a young, impressionable kid, and my brother and his partners were like, yo, Luke, like get on camera and say this about Guac Shop or whatever. So I'm comfortable in that role. It's something that I do enjoy, but I like most when my staff is able to get involved in it. And they all have been super willing to do so, which is cool.
It makes them feel part of the community, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like market, it was funny. I was watching something the other day. I think it was a business owner talking about the Yellow Pages, and he's like, I used to pay $30,000 a year for an ad in the Yellow Pages. And like, you forget how expensive it was, where to your point, it was like, I think marketing got so cheap that people just like assume that's how much it was prior to that. But like, you had plumbers and construction workers, even today, to put your ad in some of these magazines, they're still very expensive. And there's no guarantee that they're going to produce any results.
Yeah. I mean, we've used a ton of print marketing methods. It's definitely worked for us. It's been definitely successful for sure. I find a hard time necessarily tracking ROI on like an immediate, like, okay, I took out this ad and so on. Like it's difficult to track it. I lean a little bit more towards like a digital preference, because we have a great marketing team. Like one of my buddies, Mike, is like brilliant when it comes to digital marketing. He's a founder in an awesome like paid media company called Digicom, and like they represent massive clients, and he's responsible for a tremendous amount of digital ad spend. So he's taught me a lot along the way and kind of helped us out. Like I lean towards that side of it, because it's nice to be able to say like, okay, the technology's in place where like so-and-so clicked on this ad, made this purchase at this time. This is what it cost me to procure the purchase. This is how much the purchase was. I'm positive or I'm negative, and you make adjustments on the fly. I like that. I'm kind of like, I'm definitely very nerdy. Like I'm a numbers guy. I like the analytics of it. So we've seen success from there too. But like, that's another thing that people ask all the time. It's like, well, how do you be a good marketer as a business owner? Well, the truth is like there really is no one size fits all answer, and you have to hit in some way. You have to hit every angle, and then from there, if your organic media content, like Phil's Sayase, like we were speaking about, like that guy is absolutely crushing it, and kudos to him, because he's been so consistent with it, and he takes pride in it, and he's been passionate about it. for him, paid media might not necessarily be, his main focus right now. He might not need that. You know what I mean? Whereas like somebody who's just starting out, the organic side of it's important, but maybe you need a combination of the paid side of it too. So to be able to have both is largely important.
Yeah, well, like
shout out to Anthony. He's awesome.
He's a goat.
Like when we had a conversation with Anthony, he's like, yeah, I'll get 10 million views, but like, does that really transition to real value? And like one of the things that he brought up, he said, he goes, what I'll do, he's like, I'll make like a very unique special dish and post that.
Yes.
And then based on like how well that sells, will kind of give me a little bit of insight of like, is this working?
100%.
Right.
That's one of the things, like a peek behind the curtain, that's one of the things that me and my brother like talk about all the time. And it's like, well, how do you know? Like, yeah, awesome, dude. Like he'll call me up and break my chops. Be like, awesome, man, your video got 85 shares, but like, were we busier today? You know what I mean? And
well, that's why it's like some brands they do like a secret menu.
Yes.
Right. So it's like the only way to know about the secret menu is through social media.
Exactly.
Right. So if people start ordering those things, you go, all right, it's working.
Yeah.
Like it's trying to figure out and be creative of how do I see that ROI, which
you
isn't as easy as it.
No, definitely not. And you have to be purposeful with what you're posting. I think I'm a big believer. Every post needs to have a purpose. Obviously there's a lot of people out there that say just like, you know what, get as much content as you can out there and just like, but it's kind of like a numbers game, right? Because like, if you're somebody who is like, no, you have to post 3 days a day, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner time, you need to be posting on Instagram, right? Or whatever the case may be. Yeah, like I guess at a macro level, you might get larger viewership and you might be targeting different people, but it might impact the performance of a post that like you really want to do well. So like I'm a believer in the quality, over quantity approach. Again, I know nothing. I said that earlier in this podcast. Like I'm just learning. So I would love to test the other way. To be honest, in TikTok, we post more frequently than we do on Instagram and Facebook and so on. So like I said, there's really no one size fits all approach, but I do think that you have to be purposeful. Whether you're posting 3 videos a day or 1, I think you're doing yourself a disservice to post 3 not great videos in comparison like 2 well thought ones.
With intention.
Yeah, because it could be, it's like, you're in a competitive space, right? How many videos look like every other
Exactly.
video? How many ways can you display a quesadilla?
Cutting the burrito in half, and
like,
they look great.
But
so
the
many
cheese, what do you call it? The cheese
cheese pull,
The cheese pull. I mean, how many of those can you see, on your feed?
Yeah.
But, they all look the same at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So.
I think though, kind of going back to like the whole Chili's thing is like when I look at their social media presence, like they have a ton of organic user generated content of like people getting their triple dipper and taking a cheese and spreading it. But that's not all they're doing though. They're in touch with they're posting relatable content of their staff. They're posting their menu items. They're posting, the guest experience, the cheese pulls. They have a good combination of it. And I think that's why they're successful.
It's authentic.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
The more scripted it looks, the less it's going to translate.
Yeah, 100%.
Luke, when we started, I know there's some stuff in the works that you can't talk about, which is fine. Do you guys get outside of your lane in some different cuisines or?
We would love to. I mean, we've tested a lot. Mediterranean was the most recent one, the biggest. We messed around actually with Asian cuisine as well. It was absolutely delicious, but it was just at a time where like we were opening up Colmac location, and it's like we just had a lot going on where we had to focus on Guac Shop to continue. But yeah, we would love to. I mean, my brother is involved in some other culinary concepts. Obviously, like I said, Park Place, like a modern American sit down restaurant. He was one of the original partners there. So yeah, I mean that's
they do the ice cream too, right?
Yeah. My brother's
Caramia, Sergio and Pat.
Exactly. Yeah, Serge and Pat.
Yeah.
Our former partners. We love Serge and Pat. Shout out to Serge and Pat.
Great guys.
Yeah, great guys. Have taught me so much about the industry. They own Caramia and Spoons and Park Place. So
behind Caramia and Seaford.
With our immediate group and like our close knit, people that we call on in the restaurant industry, like there's a lot of different cuisines that we could definitely tap into that, as we continue to scale, opportunities present themselves, we'd love to get involved.
You're going to try to get some real estate and operate your brands within?
Yeah, we would love to. It's one of the hardest things right now. Not many shopping centers and, not many property owners want to sell, at least in New York. But yeah, we would love to. I mean, that's the key, right? Like you look at the McDonald's story, like I love studying it and I love hearing about it. But like at the end of the day, I want to put action to that. So, but there's some challenges and some obstacles that are into play, and we get that. And it's just like, again, it's just a matter of like, how do you move with the industry? How do you pivot? How do you put yourself in a position to be successful? You know,
where do you see yourself, the brand, you and Matt together 3, 5, 10 years?
Well, we actually, I mean, hopefully I have children of my own one day, but Matt has 3 beautiful children, 2 boys and a girl. My other brother, Brian, has 3 beautiful children as well, 2 boys and a girl. So
a lot of Christmas presents.
Yeah, a lot of Christmas presents. Yeah. But I mean, I would love to one day, and I'm sure my brother would say the same. I think originally it kind of became more of like, all right, like we want to build this thing and, you know, obviously build a successful business, but eventually have an exit and maybe cut our teeth in something else. But I think now it's kind of prolonging, like we want to build, obviously, again, sustainable, you know, established business for them to one day take over and take the torch and run with it. I mean, at a smaller scale, that's kind of similar to what happened between my brother and I. And who knows, like what you know, my nieces and nephews and their children could take it too. I honestly think that's becoming more realistic. I haven't even really talked to my brother about that 100%, but I think he would agree. I've heard him say it before. And at least me, my own opinion, I mean, that would be awesome to see.
I saw Matt posted that one of his sons was in the store doing something with the drinks, you know, refilling the refrigerator. So it's just fun, you know, and,
of course.
You know, trying to teach a young generation some old school work ethic, you know, because we hear it all the time. Like it's disappeared, you know, so it's kind of nice to see.
I mean, just kind of piggybacking that, we didn't really touch on it, but like the labor force, right? How, I mean, you say the big thing is culture for you. How's that been as you kind of expand? Because I think before we even went live, you were saying just, you know, having the right people so that you can continue the expansion.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's only one Luke, right? There's only one Matt, and to be able to kind of continue that consistency amongst your brand as you grow is not easy.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the people that make the big difference. Like, how's your experience been with like being able to recruit and bring them into the Guac Shop family? Yeah.
I mean, our experience for recruiting, fortunately, like it has been, I would consider largely a success. I mean, obviously there's definitely been people, we've taken shots on some individuals who, you know, maybe we didn't necessarily, you know, see eye to eye on in the long run, all amicable. I think one of the things about us too is like, we're really cognizant of our
reputation.
Yeah, reputation. Sorry, our reputation. And at the end of the day, like whether you choose to continue working with us or not, I do think that pretty much every single employee that's ever been at Guac Shop would have nothing but great things to say. I think a lot of that is because of the culture that we've built. Largely, I think we've had pretty great success in recruiting. One of the things that my brother instilled in me that we continue to instill in our staff is this idea called the growth mindset. Where we challenge our staff, whether you're entry level or more senior executive management, to get 1% better at something every day. It's one of the first things that I say in every interview I do. And I think at first, like when you're sitting down, you know, across the table from like a young high school kid, he's like, dude, like, come on, really? Like, I need some extra money, but like
trying to go outside.
Like, you know what I mean? I need to take my girl to the movies, but like over time, it develops in a much more bigger message, and I think they see it because we have an unbelievable employee retention. I mean, you guys can see it like on our accounts. We retain a lot of our employees.
If I could just stop you there 1 second. So that kind of goes back to what you said earlier. And who was that made you guys get into you at least Matt and Pat and Sergio, the Candy Club, they called it.
Yes.
Where was it someone's relative?
Yeah, Sergio's father, Carlo.
Sergio's father. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So same type of principle that some younger person's coming in and you're saying, hey, it's not just about putting chicken and rice into the bowl. Yes, that's what we do.
Yeah.
But essentially, you may be able to help them foster some skills going forward.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, listen, we understand, like, you know, my brother would tell you the same thing. When we're sitting at an interview, you know, with an individual and we're speaking on Guac Shop, its brand, its future, etc., we understand that there's some people, even currently now within our camp, that they're not looking for a career in the hospitality industry. And I even say that to people that I'm interviewing. But we feel a responsibility to our staff. Like, obviously, the fundamentals of operating a restaurant, etc., will be trained. They'll be polished. You know, it'll be success in that regard. But we understand that not all of our staff was looking for a career in hospitality. So I look at it as part of our obligation to give you the tools to be great individually, as, you know, a brother, a son, you know, a coach, an athlete, whatever it is. Like, if you can work with us, you know, and develop in that regard, whether you continue to work with us or not, I consider that a success. And I ultimately think that's why that we've been able to build the reputation that we've had, is because like that is literally stated in the first interview. And I tell people, like, if you know, are somebody who kind of like, you don't consider yourself growth mindset, you don't like to work as a team, like for whatever reason, like you're not looking to be, you know, you're not looking to be part of, you know, a bigger picture, then maybe we're not the best company for you to work with, you know, and that's okay. That's totally fine. You know what I mean?
But you're teaching life skills, right?
Of course.
You know, it's hard work, effort. You know, we talk about it with guys that work for us, girls that work for us, is that, you know, in that stage, no matter what you're doing, to be able to build and work with a team, build effort, accountability. Yeah. You know, it doesn't matter what industry it is.
Yeah, of course. 100%. That's why we like to hire athletes too, especially student athletes. My brother and I both played sports. Like, it's something that we relate to, but it's also like in a lot of ways, like kind of how we treat our business, you know, and I think you see it in all aspects. Like, for example, you know, pretty much all the best NFL, NHL, NBA players are all involved in some sort of philanthropy. They do their best to represent themselves the best they can off the field. They're committing to learning. They're committing to being coachable, you know, and some of them turn into coaches. Like, it's just something that we relate to. It's one of our biggest, you know, I'd say advantages in that regard to recruiting. So, I mean, we love to hire athletes, student athletes.
Crystal, you have a question?
This is not related to what you're currently speaking about, but do you ever get told that you resemble anyone?
To be honest, aside from my brother, no. People just say I look like Matt.
Okay. I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I've been sitting here the whole time, and I feel like you strongly resemble Peter Billingsley if he had a glow up.
I'll take it.
Do you know who he is?
I do not, but I heard glow up part, so I'll take it.
So Peter Billingsley plays Ralphie Parker in A Christmas Story.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, I'll shoot your eye out. That
character.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this whole, I had texted Rob.
That's amazing.
Like, can you see it? He's him with a glow up. Do you see it?
That's
and he
amazing.
Was cracking up.
I appreciate that.
With the hair, I was thinking Johnny Depp, but
dude,
he does have a great head of hair.
Dude, my hair is my girlfriend actually does hair, which by the way is an industry that I'm learning about, and I'm like, why couldn't I have done that? I'm just kidding, obviously. But it's like this argument, like I'm growing it out. She's like, you need to cut it. And I'm like, I just don't want to deal with it anymore. I don't want to worry about it. Yeah. Appreciate it.
I got the short end of
no, not at all.
Mine's a lot grayer now, but
mine's coming too. Trust me. This industry will do it too.
Yeah.
Luke, the story is unbelievable. You and Matt, great guys. The partners you started with, Pat and Sergio, as well. You know, this may sound corny, but I feel like a big brother. Like you are well ahead of your time.
Thank you.
Your knowledge, your commitment, your energy, the product.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have been onto something, and you know, kudos to you guys. Continued success.
Thank you.
And I guess keep having fun doing it, because I feel like it protrudes. You know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
it's,
if I were to say one last thing, I think I would, I almost in a way want to position myself to like kind of be the little brother in the industry. Exactly, you said it was perfectly worded. Like, again, I'm somebody who I like to consider myself very coachable. You know, whether I'm watching like some of the leaders in, like, let's say the pizza industry, like we had mentioned, like Mike or Rob from Talio, you know, or I'm looking in some people that are in the finance industry or payroll, accounting, or other concepts within restaurants, like Greek, Asian, whatever it might be. Like, no matter what, I'm committed to learning. I'm committed to getting better. And I feel like I have that responsibility.
Yeah. Being a student, that's awesome. So kudos to you guys, and really have a unbelievable, you know, 2026 forward. So
appreciate it. Likewise.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
What's your go-to meal at Guac Shop?
My go-to, to be honest, I'm kind of boring. I get romaine white rice. I like pinto beans. They're my favorite. I've been doing a mix of chicken and the ground beef, and then I like pico mango, and my favorite sauce is the garlic green. I always do my guac on the side, just personal preference of mine. But I'm actually, I don't know if you guys have ever had the cheesy gordita crunch from Taco Bell.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, we're like a healthy
Guilty
brand.
pleasure.
Yeah. So
late night maybe.
yeah. So I'm like kind of a little bit hesitant, but I made a cheesy gordita crunch the other day, and it was one of the craziest. Like I almost think it has to go on our menu. Like it was that good. So that's like my guilty
that should
pleasure.
be your secret menu item to try to get some ROI on the social media.
Dude, it was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Make it, you know it came from here.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Get a royalty on the.
We got you guys, of course. 100%.
Call it the premiere.
100%. Yeah, that's actually a great name. I'm not gonna lie.
Awesome.
Right,
so thank you again.
Yeah, my
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.